Hey everyone, welcome back to Stories with Adam and Sarah. Today we're diving into Essentialism, The Disciplined Pursuit of Less by Greg McKeown. This book is all about how to focus on what truly matters and let go of the rest. And of course, I've got Sarah here to break it down with me.
Hey Adam, I'm really excited about this one. Essentialism is packed with lessons that apply to both work and life, and I've got plenty of stories from my own experiences to share. So let's get started.
Let's start with one of the biggest ideas from the book, less but better. McKeown argues that we often get caught up in trying to do everything, thinking that being busy equals being productive. But he challenges that notion and says, no, it's about doing fewer things, but doing them really well. That really resonated with me, especially because our culture seems to reward busyness.
Oh, that really hit home for me too. I used to be one of those people who would pack my day with as many tasks as possible, thinking that's what success looked like. But I found myself exhausted at the end of the week, and when I looked back, I realized I hadn't really made any meaningful progress. So I decided to focus on fewer tasks and prioritize the ones that mattered. Like, I'd pick one big project to tackle each day, instead of trying to juggle 5 at once. And you know what? The quality of my work improved, and I felt a lot less stressed.
That's a perfect example of what McKeown is getting at. It's not just about doing less, it's about doing better. When you focus your energy on fewer things, you end up producing higher quality results. And that brings us to the next key point, learning to say no. This is a tough one for a lot of people. McKeown makes the case that essentialists are really good at saying no. They don't try to do everything. And they're comfortable with the idea that saying no is necessary if you want to protect your time and energy.
Yes, and that was a huge shift for me. I used to be a total people pleaser. I'd say yes to every request, extra work projects, favors for friends, even social events I wasn't excited about, because I didn't want to let anyone down. But the truth is, I was letting myself down. I'd end up overcommitted and burnt out, with no time left for my own priorities. Learning to say no was a game changer. Now, when something doesn't align with my goals, I politely decline. I've even started saying something like, I'd love to help, but I'm fully committed right now. It's been a lifesaver for protecting my time.
Exactly. And McKeown talks about how saying no isn't just about avoiding overwhelm. It's about making space for what's essential. If we don't set boundaries, we end up doing a lot of things that don't actually move the needle in our lives. Speaking of boundaries, this leads us to another big idea, reclaiming the power of choice. McKeown argues that one of the most important realizations is that we always have a choice. We often feel like we have to say yes to everything that comes our way. But that's not true. We can choose what we commit to, and that's where the real power lies.
Oh, that was such a freeing concept for me. I used to feel trapped by my own commitments, thinking I had no choice but to say yes to everything. But once I realized that I do have the power to choose, everything shifted. Now, I'm much more deliberate about where I spend my energy. For example, I was recently asked to take on an extra side project at work. Normally, I would have said yes out of obligation, but instead, I paused and thought about how it would impact my other responsibilities. In the end, I chose to say no, and it was the right decision. I felt in control, and it left me more time to focus on the projects that truly mattered.
That's a great example. And it's something McKeown emphasizes. If you don't prioritize your life, someone else will. By reclaiming the power of choice, you get to decide what's worth your time and energy. And speaking of making tough choices, let's talk about embracing trade-offs. One of the things McKeown really drives home is that we can't have it all. Trade-offs are a natural part of life. Instead of trying to juggle everything, essentialists make tough choices about what they're going to focus on and what they're going to let go.
Yes, that really resonated with me. I used to try to do everything: freelance work, my main job, social commitments, and I felt like I was constantly running on empty. Eventually, I realized that something had to give. So I decided to let go of some of the freelance work, which wasn't as fulfilling as I'd hoped, and focus more on my main job and spending time with family. It wasn't easy, but once I made that decision, I felt a huge sense of relief. It was like I had more mental space to actually do the things that mattered.
I love that. It's about making intentional decisions. When you embrace trade-offs, you're not losing anything. You're choosing what's more important. And part of that process is also making time for play and rest, which McKeown says are absolutely essential for high performance. Now, this might surprise some people, but McKeown argues that play and rest are not just nice-to-haves. They're actually crucial for doing our best work. Play sparks creativity, and rest allows us to recharge and make better decisions.
This was a huge realization for me. I used to feel guilty for taking time off or stepping away from work. But when I started intentionally scheduling downtime, whether it was a walk outside, a break to read, or even just time to do something fun, I noticed I was way more creative and productive when I returned to work. For example, there was a time when I was stuck on a big project. I couldn't figure out the next step, and it was stressing me out. So I took a break and went for a walk. By the time I came back, I had a fresh perspective and was able to move forward. That's when I realized how powerful rest and play can be.
Exactly. And McKeown is so clear about how we're not machines. We need that time to think, reflect, and recharge. That's also why he stresses the importance of building routines and focusing on small wins to keep up momentum. McKeown talks about how essentialists focus on small, incremental progress instead of trying to tackle massive goals all at once. It's about building momentum through small wins, which creates a sense of accomplishment and keeps you moving forward.
This really clicked for me, especially when it comes to routines. I used to feel overwhelmed by my to-do list, but then I started setting small, achievable goals each day. I'd focus on just one or two important tasks and let everything else fall into place. I also built a solid morning routine, waking up at the same time, having coffee, doing a bit of journaling, and it's been a game changer. Those small habits give me a sense of accomplishment right from the start of the day, and it sets the tone for everything else.
That's great. Routines really help free up mental energy, so you're not constantly trying to figure out what to do next. And by focusing on small wins, you keep building momentum, which is so important. McKeown's final piece of advice ties all of this together, focusing on what's important now. McKeown talks about how essentialists focus on the present. They ask themselves, what's important right now? It's a simple question, but it's incredibly effective at keeping you grounded and focused on the task at hand.
I've started doing this, and it's made such a difference. Whenever I feel overwhelmed by all the things I should be doing, I stop and ask myself, what's the most important thing I can do right now? It helps me let go of the distractions and focus on what really needs to get done. It's simple but powerful.
So to wrap it all up, essentialism is about a way of life. It's not just about trimming the fat once, it's an ongoing process of focusing on what truly matters, eliminating distractions, and making room for the things that bring the most value and meaning.
Exactly. It's about constantly asking yourself, is this essential? And making decisions based on what aligns with your values and long-term goals. It's a practice, and the more you do it, the more it becomes second nature.
All right, that's a wrap. If you enjoyed this discussion, let us know what non-essential thing you're going to cut from your life in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more insightful conversations like this.
We'd love to hear your stories. How are you going to apply essentialism in your life? Thanks for watching, and see you next time.